And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the True Patriot Outfitters podcast. Folks, I am giddier than a schoolgirl right now. I have finally got the man here for an interview. That's right, the TPO, our tiny little dinky little broadcast here, our little podcast. We're bringing some star power at you now. We have, it's been a long time coming to get this guy that we call our friend and brother, family friend. So excited, Mr. Stephen Cochran. He's joining us here for this episode. Before we get to that, I want to make sure we pay the bills here. This episode of the podcast brought to you by Blackfish, because you can't choose the weather, but you can choose your gear. Dude, I'm getting ready to head down for 2 days, Veterans Day, end of season fishing event. It's going to get down into the 20s at night. It's going to be pretty cold in the morning, and I'm not worried one bit. I got my Blackfish storm skin, going to be nice and toasty warm in the yak out there on the water fishing, so I can focus on helping guys get on fish. All right, bills are paid. We have a lot to cover on this episode because this dude is bigger than one-armed paper hanger. So let's go ahead and bring him into the studio here, Mr. Stephen Cochran. How are you, brother?
Man, I'm doing great, Gary Gene. How you doing?
All right, so we got people have seen this Gary Gene, so many times. Explain to them the story because this is phenomenal.
So my middle name is Eugene. My grandfather's Eugene. I have a couple cousins and uncles that are Gene and Gary. And so when I first met you, for some reason, I locked you in as Gary. And then every time I talk to you, I was like, hey, let me go talk to Gary about, and Brian's like, hey, man, who is Gary? I was like, Gary out in Colorado fishing. He was like, that's Gene. And I'm like, that's horrible because that's literally my middle name. And I can't remember my middle name and my grandfather's name.
Dude, the best part I loved was when we were at Tyler's Benefit there in Murfreesboro. Yeah. You're the MC for the deal. I have traveled in, we jumped the red-eye flight to get in there. I got a bag of goodies from home here to give to Tyler. And up on the stage, Stevens, hey, let's go ahead and bring up the stage Gary Campbell. Gary, come on up here. I'm like, son of a bitch.
If I could have just had a camera, because as I looked at your wife's face, I realized I messed that up. That's not his name. And to my credit, though, I was running 2 stages at the time, and I think I was running back and forth. But yeah, after that, I was just like, so you're Gary Gene from now on. After.
Hey, I'll take that. I've been called hell of a lot worse most of the time. So. Well, hey, man, I, again, want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. You are busier than like 3 people with work and everything you got going. Not to mention you have 5 kids, a beautiful wife. You got multiple businesses you guys are running, man. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to jump on the podcast here.
Dude, I love what you're doing. And I've been so happy to not just be your friend, but to be a part of what you guys are doing. And I just thank you for getting me back on it. Like I said, I've wanted to do this, and we've talked about trying to get it together. And
hell yeah,
I'm just glad it finally worked out where we could get together on it.
Hell yeah, this is awesome. So let's just start going down through it, man, because there's so much to cover here. For those folks at home that are brand new to meeting you, let's start with the man first. Going back, where were you born? Where'd you grow up, man? What part of the country?
Man, that seems like that should be like a real simple answer, but it's not. So if for any of your listeners out there that's ever seen King of the Hill, when Hank Hill found out that he wasn't a native Texan, kind of saying, as you can see right here, I'm a huge Kentucky Wildcat basketball fan. I love the Detroit Lions football. My grandparents were born and raised in Kentucky, and then my grandpa moved to Michigan to work for GM. So my whole life, I was raised in Kentucky. I was born to love Kentucky basketball. I'm a Kentucky boy. Nope, I'm an Ohio boy because the hospital in Ashland, Kentucky, my mom didn't like it. My aunts didn't like it. So they made her come to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where my aunt lived, which is right across the Ohio River to Gallipolis, Ohio. So when it came time to have me, they just drove over in Ohio, had me, and then drove the baby back to Kentucky. So I was raised in Kentucky, but I'm born in Ohio. And I spent all my summers from 4 to 18 in Michigan with my grandparents. So, Michigan and Kentucky are as much home to me as they're equal to me. And then
That's awesome.
My dad's a songwriter. So when I was about 5, my dad got a record deal, and we loaded up from Eastern Kentucky. He quit his job on the railroad, and we moved to Tennessee, and I've been there since I was 5. So getting to grow up in a bunch of different communities, and from Michigan to Kentucky to Tennessee, they're all different, but they all made who I am, and I think I'm a pretty good guy.
Hell yeah. No, man, the heartland. That's you guys are on the eastern border. A lot of those states you talk about, you're on the eastern border of what we call the flyover states, right? I mean, it's still Midwest, but it's
right.
It's right on that edge piece there. No, man, I love it. That is a beautiful, beautiful area of the country for sure. That's very lucky to have that outdoor.
Man, it is. And I'm from Eastern Kentucky, so the mountains, the Appalachia. I'm an Appalachian American. We just started calling ourselves that because we don't like hillbilly anymore, so we're Appalachian Americans. From there, funny enough, it's actually a minority scholarship at the University of Kentucky. If you're from Appalachia, you can get an Appalachian American scholarship to go to the University of Kentucky.
That's freaking awesome.
It is. We are our own people, man. People that don't know about Appalachia doesn't really understand that, the Native Americans and the Irish and Scottish settlers, that's where they went. And that's where bluegrass came from. And a lot of the music that I play today originated in those mountains. So where I'm from is a place called Pikeville, Sydney, Kentucky, but I say Pikeville. And we have an interstate or a road that runs through there. It's called the Country Music Highway. Nice. There's so many country music singers from that area. I always joke, most people, they go back to their hometowns, they got a sign up. It's like, hometown of Stephen Cochran. When you go to Pikeville, Kentucky, it's just like, hometown of this star, of this star, of this star, of this star. And then at the end of it, there's a sign with about 12 people on it. I think I'm at the very bottom, like over here in the corner. It's
honorable mention.
Yeah. And then this kid who moved to Tennessee when he was 5.
Right. That's awesome stuff, man. How old were you, sir, when you joined the United States Marine Corps?
Another should be simple answer, not. So my grandfather, the cool thing about my family is that we can trace it back to coming to the United States, or America, I guess, the mainland here in 1706.
Wow.
And from there, we can trace that a Cochran has fought in every war since 1706 that this country has ever waged, including the Revolutionary War, all the way to current. Wow. So my grandfathers, both of my grandfathers served, my dad served. It was something that patriotism was always driven in me, but I never had the ambition to serve. I never knew, country music was something I always wanted to do. My dad did it. And so my whole goal was to be a songwriter. And I never had the ambition to join the military until 9/11. I was in college at Western Kentucky University. I was in my junior year there, I believe. And we were watching the towers fall. And man, I was the lacrosse captain at Western at the time. And I don't think I've never had anything hit me to the point to where it was like I was moving, but it wasn't me moving me. It was a sense of purpose of, this is what I'm here to do. Right. This is what I'm driven to do. And over that next course of that next week, I left a developmental record deal. I dropped out of college, and I enlisted in the Marine Corps. And so they thought I was insane when I walked in the Marine. They were like, kid, you got 24 college credits left. Go back and graduate, sober up, and come back and we'll get you in the Marine Corps. I was like, hey, buddy, the Navy and the Air Force and the Army have recruiting stations in the same strip mall. I'm going to go visit them afterwards if you let me out of this door. And so, yeah, he didn't let me leave. So I became a United States Marine.
That is awesome stuff, man. And there's stories like that around, man. 9/11 was so intricate. It was so pivotal in this nation. For me, as at the time, I was a young dad when 9/11 took place. I had a 3-year-old. And the biggest impact that, besides watching what was taking place in not belief, but then what do I need to do? What needs to occur right now? And, I came home, had both, had my daughter close to me. I hadn't had my son yet. And as we're sitting here watching the TV, my 3-year-old is on my almost 4. She's on my lap, and I'll never forget it, man. It's on my kid's name. She looks right at me, this little girl, and she says, "Daddy, are there people in there?" And she's talking about that building, man. And that's when I'm like, son of a, it's like, what do I tell this little girl? So I'm just sitting there, and of course I'm like, well, we don't know, sweetheart. We don't know, and I'm just like, okay, time to take her away from this TV.
Yeah.
And because this is not just a news thing, you know what I mean? But I hear it was a call to service for so many warriors like yourself, brother, that jump in there and bang, they're off and running. For a very short period of time in our country's history, I remember it, where politics be damned, there was one country. You know what I mean? There was one group that was standing united there, and we saw it from Washington, D.C. to the bridges and overpasses on highways. No one had the stuff. So that was amazing stuff. So you, what did you do when you were in the Corps, sir?
So I was with 2nd Light Armored Reconnaissance. I was a reconnaissance scout. And I guess for nomenclature purposes, everybody that's out there, what we did is I rode on an LAV-25, which is a 8-wheeled vehicle. It's amphibious. It floats. It swims. It's got a 25 millimeter cannon on it, and they didn't let me play with any of that stuff. They put me in the back, and they had this little term. They'd say "scouts out," and then the doors would open up, and then we'd have to pop out and go, first get our eyes adjusted to the sunlight, because we're just like little turret trolls in the back of the LAV waiting to be popped out. And then you get out and you're like, "Oh, I can't see. I hope there's not any enemy out here." and then you go assault whatever objective that they point to. And it's usually just that way. And then, so you do it. I was a part of the invasion to Iraq. So the actual march up, March 23rd, 2002, we were, sitting outside of Iraq in what's called RCT-1, right outside in Kuwait. And we had gotten the word that Saddam was actually going to comply, and that we were all just there to, show force. He was going to comply, and we were going to go back home. And so they built a movie theater in the middle of this desert. We watched American Pie in the middle of the desert. And statute of limitations, I'm going to tell some other stuff. So one of our guys was turning 21, and I convinced my dad to mail me whiskey to Iraq, because it's a Muslim country, so alcohol is illegal. And so I draw out this whole diagram of how I want him to do it. Take a Listerine bottle, make sure it's the brown Listerine, take the top off, take the hair dryer and put it back on. I don't think that he gets it. So I get a package. I get called to the company office. They said the package is leaking. I'm just like, oh God, I'm getting kicked out of the Marine Corps. I've only been in the Marine Corps 9 months. So I get down there. My first sergeant's got his camera, and they're all taking, because I got the first package. So they're taking pictures of me unbelling my package. I'm holding up the Listerine and some orange juice. I get it back to my hooch, and I open up the Listerine, and I smell it. And it's Listerine. I'm like, this dude, what does he think I need a value thing of Listerine for in the middle of Iraq? So for some reason, I decided I was going to taste it. Man, that's straight Jack Daniels. He somehow rubbed Listerine on the inside of the cup, so if they opened it and smelled it, it would smell like Listerine. Like, this
wow.
Dude, I don't know if he smuggled things into prisons before. I don't know what he'd done.
Right.
So now I got a ginormous bottle of whiskey, and we start, in the MREs, they had this stuff called lemon lime beverage base powder. We would take that and the whiskey, and we were making whiskey sours in the middle of the desert in Kuwait, watching American Pie for this dude's birthday. Hammered. We hadn't seen alcohol in like 3 months. So, and plus we'd lost so much weight from just sitting there sweating every day. By the time that we drank like 2 of those cups, hammered. We all go fall asleep on our hooches. And I am not shitting you, dude. It was like 03 in the morning. My hooch door flies open. DePillo comes walking. He goes, "Hey guys, wake up, man. We're going to war." That's the day we staged to cross the line departure. I had the worst hangover I'd ever had in my life. And the whole time I'm sitting in the back of the vehicle going, oh God, I'm going to die because I have a hangover. I'm going to die because I got a hangover. Thank God we did not cross the line that day. We waited till the next day, and it would have been bad. So we really didn't even know we were going until the day we went. And then when we went, we didn't stop.
Man, and that perspective, I hope folks that are watching this, through the recording here, get a better understanding, of the real stories, because many times this kind of stuff's never talked about, so it's so eye-opening to hear it directly from somebody that was there, that was going through that stuff. But yeah, man, good thing you had another 24 to get hydrated. Holy shit.
Yeah,
Sure.
that would have been good. I just remember all of us, there was a whole group of scouts that was out in the middle of Kuwait desert, just throwing up, praying that we did not have to. And then when we finally crossed the line of departure, like I was telling you, we're buttoned up. So all the scouts are down inside the vehicle, and we're just kind of sitting there with our weapons. And all we can do is hear on our PIRs or our radios what our vehicle commanders or what anybody's talking about. We can't see anything. So here we are on this door, and all I'm hearing is, oh my goodness, look at all the destruction. There's tanks everywhere. And I'm just like, oh my God, when this door opens, like, I'm going to be walking into the middle of like Saving Private Ryan type stuff. Like, I didn't know what I was walking. And it's about that time, man, there's scouts out. The doors fly open, and we go out, and it's stuff from Desert Storm. Man, there's old tanks. This dude was up there like, oh, the destruction. I'm like, bro, I swear to God, you ever do that to me again, and we're going to have our own war.
Oh, the humanity.
Oh, it's destruction everywhere. Yeah, from 1993. Like, I was 13 when this shit happened.
There were hulked out T-72s and all kinds of stuff, huh?
Bro, well, that's the sad part is they're still using T-72s.
Oh, yeah, like, I know.
We got over there, and I always wondered why we were doing so much like Russian vehicle identification. It's because, I mean, they use basically the same Russian systems, the BDPs and BDMs or whatever they're called, and the T-72s, T-75 tanks, looking for the ballistic V and stuff like that on the tanks, and they still had them. They didn't use them much, but they still had them.
Those 72s were something back in 1950.
Buddy, I'm telling you, the thing is that, a lot of people forget about those first 4 months of the invasion.
Yeah, right.
And they also forget that, England and America basically went at that one alone. And they also forget that Iraq was the superpower of the Middle East.
Yep.
Iran, Syria, all these bad actors that we have right now were scared to death of Iraq. And when they watched what we did to Iraq in 4 months, if we could have had an opportunity to change the world right then, if we could keep our politicians out of war and cameras out of war and let warriors fight wars, we could have changed the world then. We wouldn't be dealing with the stuff we're dealing with right now if we had have made something out of that first 4 months. Because
couldn't agree more.
Buddy, those first 4 months, they didn't want nothing to do. Nobody wanted nothing to do with America.
It sent the message clean and across that, it's not hype. The United States Armed Service, we know, we've learned from the past, and we don't, it's FAFO, baby, all day long.
Buddy, it was,
you'll find out in a hurry.
It was sad because, we'd watch videos of Saddam gassing his troops up, like, oh, you're the greatest thing. We want the Marines. We want the Navy SEALs and shit like this. And talking to Special Republican Guard like they're actually SEALs. And, when we invaded that country, I compare it to if you watched a Little League baseball team play the Yankees.
Yep.
Like, it was sad at points. Like, you guys can't believe that you could really even stand on the same battlefield with us. Like, it's to this day, it still boggles my mind how those poor people were convinced that they had a chance against the greatest superpower, the greatest military that's ever existed in the world.
Right.
But over time,
and you'll probably, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but had it not been for the cowardly ass, no honor tactics of the usage of civilians and blending into civilians, had it not been for that, they had zero chance at it. In my opinion.
They were even, Saddam was doing stuff where because they were starving to death, man. I mean, their families were starving to death. And I like to look at and this is the thing that I always say. It's like, I have no ill will or no bad feelings towards the Iraqi military. Anybody that fought for Iraq, I don't consider them my enemy. I consider them, they were fighting for their country. They were doing no different than what I did. And that's a war that they were made to fight, really. I mean, a lot of them didn't want to fight that. And even at times they would give up to us, and we treated them as good as we could, considering that we are fighting a war and we're not being treated great either. They got all the same amenities that we had, and we treated them just as a warrior would be treated. And I always think about myself if something happened in this country to where my kids were starving.
Right.
And my president told me if I just picked up a weapon, I didn't have to kill anybody. I just had to pick it up and fire it at them. he's going to give 5,000 dinar, which is like a year's worth of wages to that family. So some of these men were just sacrificing themselves with just thinking that maybe there was a chance they could save their families.
Right.
And of course, he never kept good on his word. So they go out, they lose the only man that they have in their family because he was trying to save his children, and now they have a mother and children that have nothing. So Iraq was a real moral complex of a war, but Afghanistan was a completely different thing. It was not the two same. These things were so different that I don't even think of them in the same context. Like when I say I fought a war in Iraq, and then I say, and I did some other weird shit in Afghanistan, because it wasn't a war. This was just if it's like if you thought, hey, I'm going to take the heavyweight champion of the world in boxing or whatever, and I'm going to put him out in the front yard, and anybody in the world that thinks they're tough can now come to the front yard and take their chance against the heavyweight champion of the world. That's what it felt like in Iraq. I mean, we had Syrians and Pakistanis and Egyptians and all kinds of. They speak the language in Iraq or Afghanistan is Punjabi, Urdu, Pashto, Fari, and Arabic. They speak like 5 or 6 different languages in this small country, and then most of them can't read or write, so they can't even talk to each other. Right. And yet we're supposed to go over there and make something out of this. When I went to Afghanistan, my great uncle fought in World War II. When he was 16, he was shot 6 times across the front of his chest and lived, and went on to be the interim sergeant major of the Army for Korea. His name was Sergeant Major Robert L. Brown. And he was 82 when I went to Afghanistan, and he came over and rented a hotel room in Eastern Kentucky. And we stayed up till 2 a.m. that night drinking. And he was shadow boxing at 82, teaching me how to shadow box. And he told me about his war and how, what World War II was like. And he gave me a poem, and he said, I don't want you to read this until your worst day in Afghanistan. And my worst day was no doubt the date that Corporal Ron Payne was killed. He was I don't know if you can see that. Corporal Payne was the first Marine. He was the first Marine KIA in Afghanistan. We were actually ambushed 26-on-5 outside of the Helmand province, or outside of Kandahar in the Helmand province. And Corporal Payne literally gave his life, sacrificed himself to save our staff sergeant and a few of his Marines. And by the time we had gotten to him, Corporal Payne had already paid the ultimate sacrifice, and a few of our other Marines were injured. We fought the whole night to try to take that hillside. And the next morning I opened up the envelope, and it was from that my great uncle had given me. And he said, when you open this envelope, if you do what it says in here, you'll only then become the greatest warrior that you've ever been. And it was a poem by Rudyard Kipling. It's called "O Ye English Soldier." And I can't remember all of it, but the last verse said, when you're down out on Afghanistan's plains and the women come out to collect what remains, just roll to your right and blow out your brains and go to your God like a soldier.
Good Lord.
And I was like, why the fuck did you give me this? I'm not doing any of that shit today. So, but the letter that was with it is that when you are ready to die, when you know you're going to die and that you will never see home again, only then will you unlock the true warrior that's inside of you. Wow. And from that day forward, I can say that, there's probably a lot of Marines that didn't agree with some of my tactics over there after that, but I didn't give a shit. I was coming home. I was not going to I'd rather be tried by 12 and carried by 6, whatever it took to get my guys home. That's what we were going to do. And so I learned how to say cuss words in Pashto, and I just pissed everybody off when I went home.
When did you meet Brian over there? Because didn't you guys serve together?
We did. Brian and I met before that. We were on the same pump as 22nd MU. Brian had came in as the mech chief for our vehicles, those cool vehicles. He was the one that kept them running, which, buddy, Afghanistan, they don't make vehicles that run in Afghanistan. This thing's supposed to go. And I remember at some points like being out with a crowbar, it's called a breaker bar, trying to move boulders out of the road while these vehicles are just stuck going, it sounded like a dying cow. And you're just looking around like, yep, at any point the Taliban's going to hear this. They're coming. Like, we're going to die tonight. And so poor Brian had to keep those things running. I don't know how he did it. He kept a lot of them running. Some of them didn't. Some of them never ran again, to be honest with you. But yeah, so Brian and I met on the workup. I was a team leader for the Scouts, and Brian was our mech chief, and we just became friends. It was funny because, Brian joined the Marine Corps a lot earlier than I did, but we're only like 4 months apart in age. But he was a staff sergeant, and I was a lance corporal, which is a lot farther apart than 4 months in age. He's 3 ranks ahead of me, pretty much. And but we're the same age. And so he would always show up, and he'd be like, "Hey, Cochran," because I'd ask for something, that we needed, and he would show. Mainly, it would be vehicles. I remember one time I was like, "Dude, we need vehicles." He would he stole somebody's truck, and just pulled up, and was like, "Hey, Cochran, got your truck." and then he would always follow it with, "Hey, Cochran, who's your daddy?" And I would always follow it with, "Motherfucker, you are 4 months older than me. That is physically impossible."
Yeah, that sounds like both of you guys, right?
And this is a story again. I guess OPSEC and timelines are over. So there was an area of operation that we were operating in that we weren't supposed to be in. I don't want a commandant or somebody to call me after this and yell at me, because that's happened. Do you think I'm not kidding? I have literally gotten an email from a commandant like, "Cut this shit out." He's like, "Sir, I'm thinking you're skipping some chains of command there, motherfucker. There's a few people above me you probably need to talk to." So
go ahead.
We go to this area. It's kind of an area where you don't really know if you're still in Afghanistan.
Right.
And so we were supposed to go in there.
A gray area.
Right. Yeah. And so we were supposed to go in, get this one guy, drag him back in Afghanistan because he was a high value target. And so they're like, "Listen, you're not taking," because normally if we raided a village or raided a house, we would go in, we would separate the women and the children, put the women in an area so that they would be safe, so that we're not, doing anything to their religion that would not be suitable. Touching women and children is not something, especially from a Christian or somebody that's non-Muslim, is not something that they like or that's part of the religion. So we always tried to keep that in mind. And then we zip tied and put sandbags on all the men. If you were a fighting age male, you got your hands zip tied, you got a sandbag, just so you couldn't see what our movements were. And then we knew. So they told us we weren't allowed to do that because we, again, may or may not have been in our area of operation, which is called your AO. And they're like, "You're going to go in, you're going to get this dude, and you're going to get out." Yeah, we did all that. We zip tying people. I had one guy, Alex Rodriguez, had dudes he had a whole family in the basement. He jumped off a roof and tackled a guy off the back of a motorcycle. My squad leader's like, "Bro, we're all going to Guantanamo Bay. We're all going to go. We're all getting put in Leavenworth somewhere for this shit." And then out of nowhere, we're like, we got to get out of here. They're coming for us. We got to go. And out of nowhere, here comes Brian Romans with a Hilux truck. "Hey guys, get in!" Just stealing people's shit all over Afghanistan to come get us scouts. So yeah, we jumped in the back of the Hilux and got the hell out of there. We didn't get our target either. So.
I talked to him about that story because I always mention that. I love that story. And I asked him about it. He goes, "Dude, whatever it took. I mean, we're getting home. That's the bottom line. We're getting home. We'll deal with it. What we got to deal with." And I'm like, "I'm just damn glad you boys did." You know what I mean?
Tried by 12 or carried by 6. We're getting home. And that's the whole thing is that, even with that motto, that tried by 12 or carried by 6, I always look back on, especially now as a father, I try to look back on my time in Iraq, my time in Afghanistan, and really dig through it and make sure that, anything that I need to ask God forgiveness for, that I sit down and have that talk with God about. And I can honestly say, man, there's not a time. I'm very honored and proud to have served with the men that I served with, because they're all honorable men. They all have integrity, that, surpluses of integrity, because there's not one time that I look back on our service and I think, that could have been a war crime, or, I'd like to do that one different. I don't think that was handled right. These guys are the epitome of what professional warriors are, and I'm just blessed to be a part of them.
That's awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Man. That is so awesome. And let's fast forward here. Unless you want to talk about what happened, but we'll bounce it forward here to the Stop22 Tour. This is how you and I came to know each other, is
Right.
Stop22 being a part of the Romans Warrior Foundation. So, but before that, you're one of the co-founders, one of like the anchor beginning founders of the Stop22 Tour. What is that? Talk to us about Stop22 and how you came up with it.
So back in 2014, a good friend of mine, and I'm talking about like family. His name is Matt Harder. He and I played high school football together. He got a full ride scholarship to Florida State University and went there for 1 year, but I was a year behind him. And so when I graduated, I went to Western Kentucky University, and so did Michael Hamilton and Daniel Hamilton, Michael York, a bunch of our core friends. And Matt left a full ride at Florida State to transfer to Western Kentucky University just to be with us, because that was our crew. That's who we were. And so we stayed at Western until, I joined the Marines first, and then Matt joined the Navy. My other buddy Daniel joined the Air Force. My other buddy Michael joined the Army. So we all went in different branches.
Wow.
Michael was a captain in the Army, and he was a sapper. He's now my music producer and longtime partner. He produces all the music. And Daniel went on to the Air Force, and I went to the Marines. Matt went into the SEAL program. So he went to Buds.
Wow.
What people don't know about Matt was #1 in the nation in Kung Fu when he was 17 years old. Like, this guy was just a madman. Like, when you think of like a badass, that's who Matt Harder was.
Right.
And so when I got out of the military and we all came back to Nashville, me and Matt only lived about a half a mile from each other. Like, he was always at my house, I was at his house. And the thing is that, with all the stuff I was going through, I always thought, like, if I have a bad day, I'm just going to go drop it off on Matt, because Matt's a badass and he gets it and he can handle it. Matt went through Buds. He can handle anything. What I didn't know is that, a lot of the guys that Matt had went to Buds with, I don't know if you remember the helo crash in Afghanistan a while back where those SEALs were killed. All those SEALs Matt went to Buds with.
Oh my gosh.
And so, he was dealing with a bunch of stuff and he didn't have anybody that he could drop it off on. And so Matt took his life in 2014.
Damn.
And I don't talk about this a lot. Yeah, I don't talk about this a lot.
We can take a break, brother.
No, it's fine. I think people need to feel this and see this, because I need to feel it too. I need to go through it. I was one of the last ones to see Matt. He called me and I went to his house and we talked, and I could tell that things were, different, and he was, acting different. And the next night he called me, and I was in a meeting with some musicians we were working with, and I sent it to voicemail, and I just thought, man, I can't do another crazy night like last night. I'll just call him when I get home.
Right.
And Michael Hamilton called me the next day and let me know that, I think it was Daniel Hamilton actually called me the next day and let me know that Matt had taken his life. And so we were at his funeral, and another good buddy of mine that I played high school football with. I played middle school football with. His name's Daniel Broderick. He came up to me at the funeral, and I hadn't seen him since high school. Didn't even know he was in music. He was like, "Hey man, I don't know if you know, I've been releasing music too. And I just want to tell you that I'm so proud of you for all the success you've had in music. But the one thing I want to ask you is that why haven't you started something to raise awareness about veteran suicide, man? I mean, did it take for it to hit this close to home for you to realize that it's needed?" And man, nothing sat with me harder than that did. Right. And a guy that was, that had gotten to know Matt, a Marine sniper buddy of mine, Daniel Dean, was with me at Matt's funeral, because him and Matt had gotten to be good friends too. And when we left, me and Daniel said, we've got to do something to do this. And so we teamed up with Sam Tate. Sam Tate's a Vietnam veteran, 2 Purple Hearts, a Bronze Star. And he also wrote, he was Songwriter of the Year, CSAC Songwriter of the Year, like 3 years in a row. He wrote a lot of the hits you've heard on radio, Moments by Emerson Drive. If You're Going Through Hell by Rodney Atkins, Sam wrote that. But what people don't know about Sam is that, during Vietnam, they didn't have terms like post-traumatic stress and stuff like that. It was just like shell shock or crazy Uncle Rob, don't look him in the eyes, fuck you up, stuff like that. Right. And so yep. Sam didn't know what he was dealing with. So he just wrote his own fight song. He wrote If You're Going Through Hell for himself to help him get through the day. And so most people hear Rodney Atkins' version and they think, oh man, that's a great good time song to kind of get me through it. But if you know the story, and it was written by a Vietnam veteran, it changes the whole meaning of the song.
It's different. Yeah.
Right. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to give everybody an opportunity to hear these stories behind some of these songs that you've heard on the radio that you may not have known that a veteran wrote, or that a veteran's plight and what he went through is the catalyst behind that song. And so we started Stop22 Tour, which is a non-for-profit foundation, part of the Romans Warrior Foundation. And what we do is we take singer-songwriters who are also United States veterans and who have songs on the radio or may just be starting out, and we put them out in the world. What we have is called like an In the Round. In Nashville, we know we see them a lot more than the rest of the country does. And In the Round is just like 3 or 4 songwriters sitting on stage on a stool with a microphone and just your guitar, and you go one after the other playing a song that you've written or that you've heard on the radio, and you get to tell the stories behind those songs. And so we started that in 2014. And we haven't looked back, man. We've played every state. We've played the biggest venues there are, and we've got to be in front of millions and thousands and millions of veterans at the same time, and help a lot of them understand that we're not special, man. Like, there's nothing special about me. I did the same shit. I was at E5 when I got out. I got non-rec. I should have been in JP for some shit that I did when I was in the Marine Corps. So it's like nothing. Hey, there ain't no shame in my game. I'll tell you exactly what I did. I know my staff sergeant May is watching this right now. He's going to think this is hilarious because I never tell this story. So I first got to the battalion. There was things called Libo stacks because we weren't at war yet. Remember, the stolen valor wasn't a thing yet. And I really didn't steal it. I just borrowed it. Somebody was having a wedding or something. And they were talking about how hot the bridesmaids were going to be at this wedding. And I had one ribbon. Everybody else had I had one.
A chest full.
I had the one they gave me from graduating boot camp, just one. And so a couple of the other guys like, hey, man, they sell ribbons at the PX. Let's go get some. So everybody's at the PX buying. Man, I'm telling you, there was Lance Corporals with shit. Right? And I was like, I don't want to be that guy that's going to have a bunch. So I only got 4 or 5 of them. But I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get some jump wings.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I'm so new in the Marine Corps, so dumb. I bought the gold ones. I had to be like a fucking sergeant major. It's like 120 jumps or some shit. Drunk off my ass in the Raleigh airport, and some sergeant major's like, hey, son, were you prior enlisted? I'm like, nope. He's like a Lance Corporal with gold jump. Come here, let me talk to you. And I tried to fight him. He called my first sergeant. He's like, I got a drunk Lance Corporal here with gold jump wings on. And yeah. Had to fight a war as a Lance Corporal because I couldn't get promoted because of my jump wing scandal. So, yeah.
That's awesome stuff.
I'm not special. I fuck up just like everybody is. I wasn't a perfect Marine. I wasn't a great Marine. I did my job, and I love writing music, but I'm not special. And if I can get through this shit, if I can survive, you can too. There's nothing special about me. You've got to do what you've got to do to get yourself where you need to be, and that's all I've done. I want people to see that. I want people to see that through the other veterans that we use on stage, and hopefully it can motivate them to be like, hey, man, if this dude who stole some jump wings can make a successful life and end up getting a good cookie and get out. A good cookie is a good conduct ribbon. I got one of those too, by the way. So if you don't like it, call somebody else and kiss my ass. If you don't like it, you can make something out of yourself. You don't have to have a special talent or anything like that, because I don't.
Man, one of the cool things, being a civilian myself and being in the room with you guys and watching you guys interact, hearing the stories and watching the brotherhood that takes place. One of the things that I was able to pick up on as I'm getting older and a little bit wiser, not much, but a little bit. One of the things that really, struck home for me is with the Stop22 aspect is that we talk about in the media, they talk about PTSD, they talk about TBIs, they talk about mental health as if there's some cure. Yeah. They talk about this, that this is this. And what it brought into contrast is, no, my traumatic or my experiences did not come from war. They came from, a drunk stepfather, and me witnessing things that no child in kindergarten should ever see. And like, it's like, oh my God, I found the bridging point there to say, and this was the point that you guys on the tour taught me so much. And that is, there is no cure, man. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't take away what you've done. What it is coming to grips with, this is who I am now. And that's okay. It's more than enough. You should not be ashamed. You should understand the fact that people still love you and are grateful for you. And what you did was honorable and needed. And yeah, there's plenty of citizens and, the true patriots out there that are just so damn thankful and grateful. And I am unapologetically, 100% a fan of all, you guys out there that have given this sacrifice. But it's coming to grips with the fact that it's not about getting rid of anything, man. It's about adding more stuff to it and understanding that you're not alone. Don't ever fucking feel alone, because you're not.
Yeah.
There's so many of you guys out there,
Yeah.
And that's what you guys taught me from the side, man. And I try to do my best to connect, right? Get guys that have similar experiences together where I can, because no matter how much I want to, I'll never grasp where you're coming from, so I try to find others that can, and try to make that connection.
Dude, you hit it all right there on the head. It's just, you think about being in the service, and a lot of these guys are the closest thing to Superman, the closest thing to a Marvel character that we have in this world.
100%.
And then, one day, like myself, you're injured. I broke my back, L1 to L5, shattered all my lumbars. They told me I'd never walk again. I mean, this is a day before I was, a reconnaissance scout, an LAR Marine, a Marine that had fought 2 wars, a Marine that warlords in Afghanistan were scared of. And now I'm half of that person. I can't walk. I can't feel my legs. I may never walk again. A lot of these guys don't have to be injured. They go from that to coming home to being a Walmart greeter or just working a 9-to-5 job. And nobody talks about when they take away your cape.
Right.
You're Superman until you're not. And then, all those people that were looking at you like you're the hero, or looking at you like, what are you doing with your life now? And it's because we're chasing who we were. And the thing is that we can never be those people again. And that's really what democracy is, Gene, is that I look at it like democracy. And this is not a statement I came up with. It's one I've heard. It's that democracy is a well-armed lion, or a well-armed lamb at dinner with lions. And for me, it's like, we like to think of ourselves as a superpower, a warrior. We are a superpower, but we're not a warrior society. We probably haven't been a warrior society since, the Native Americans were running this country. And so, but we get it confused with superpower. Yes, we have the most powerful military in the world. That doesn't make us a warrior society. In fact, we're the farthest thing in this world from a warrior society. We've got boys. My kid has every PlayStation there is, the PlayStation, Xbox. He's got the Quest. I go in the room. He's got like a goggles on. He's just in the corner doing this. It's weird as shit. We take those kids, right? Air conditioning, heat, 4 cars in the driveway, 2 houses. We take those kids, and at the most, we give them 3 months of training.
Right.
And then we send them to real fucking warrior societies. Afghanistan's been at war for 3,000 years. Iraq's been at war with Mesopotamia and Babylon. It's been at war since biblical times. These are true warrior societies. We send our boys and girls over there, and we say, not only do you have to fight them, but you have to fight them with your right hand tied behind your back, because we're the only country, or one of the only countries, that follows the Geneva Convention.
Right.
When you're fighting the Taliban, they give a shit about a convention. They're using that cross that's on your corpsman's back and his sleeve. They're using that as target practice. They know if they kill that corpsman, he can't save any of you.
Yeah.
And so
exactly,
when you think about that, when you think about who we're sending, and then you think that these boys and girls should come back from over there and have a fucking problem with what they did, that shit's crazy. That sounds more insane than saying, hey, you came back with an issue from what you had to do. Serial killers kill people because they're crazy people.
Right.
We're taking normal boys and girls and making them kill as many people, if not more, than some of the serial killers that we have in this world. And then we think they're supposed to be okay with it. Look, if you can go do that shit and you're okay with it, motherfucker, you need to go see the wizard, not us. Because at the end of the day, it's what democracy is, man. We're going to send our best. our
Right.
brightest. We don't send felons over there. No, we're not emptying our prisons and sending our worst. We're sending the brightest and the best people this country has to offer. And they're giving their lives that could cure cancer, lives that could be the next president, the next congressman, the next great songwriter, artist out there. But they're going to go over there and die, because that's what we do. We send our best. And then guess what? The ones that come home, they're going to mourn those people for the rest of their life. And they're going to mourn themselves because they'll never be themselves again.
Right.
And so that's what democracy is to me, man. It's sacrificing the best because you know what you have here at home, and we know that we want to keep it.
And it's a staggering number when you look at less than 1%, right?
Yeah.
It's a crazy deal.
Well, I even talked with, I see some of the veterans talking about, hey, if you didn't serve a day in combat, or if you didn't graduate boot camp, then you're not a veteran. And yeah, that technically is right. But, I always look at it like this. The people that tried to join, even if they didn't make it through boot camp, they tried. There's a lot of people that didn't try out there.
Right.
And for anyone to shit on someone who tried and their body couldn't take it, or their mind couldn't take it, I don't feel that's right. I mean, yeah, I don't think it's right if you went to boot camp for 3 days that you get to go out and get a free meal on Veterans Day. But if you need that fucking free meal, go get the shit.
Right.
Like, go get it. Like, I would rather you have a free meal off my back and the shit that I did than go hungry. And like I told the same person, I said, hey, at the end of the day, I look at it like this. I did some shit they can't. And if they want to brag about that, just make me a bigger stud anyways.
Brother, you epitomized to me what so I travel around the country through the Midwest primarily, and I'm in a lot of very rural areas, a lot of very proud communities that are very much in support of, F around and find out, man, fuck around and find out. That's their mentality. And they're the first on social media many a times to fire off with the, go ahead, let them try to start shit and we'll see what happens. Da, 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 da. And the first thing I think of is, you've never been there, nor would you be one going there. Because if you were, you wouldn't be so damn quick to say that. And you have shown that so many times. I love your view is so raw. It's so right. It's human. What your viewpoint, I see you express yourself many a times on certain topics. And man, I want to say thank you for that, because it's you show the fact that no, dude, you can do. It doesn't have to be one extreme or the other, and understand at the end of the day, we're human beings. Okay. So that's
awesome.
We take the good with, with what you do, man. And that's
appreciate that. You're the first one to tell me that. Usually managers are like, shut the fuck up, get off social media. You're not the president, bitch. Stop leading people.
No, I'll be the first to tell you, man. I look at both what's been driving this country, left and right side, and I think they're all cracked out of their brain. I don't trust any of them anymore, man.
Usually by about, let me tell you. So, and a lot of people don't know also, after I was injured, I went on to be the national spokesman for veteran research and development. I'm the only one they've ever had, actually. And then I was the co-chair to hospitalized veterans. And so I got to kind of a little peek into Washington, D.C., and I got to see how kind of things went on. A lot of these meetings that I would go to were supposed to be no lobbyists there. These are people you just watched on C-SPAN ready to fight on the Senate floor. And then you go to these parties and they've got their arms around each other and they're drinking and they're laughing at us. Yep. They're laughing at us because the only place a two-party system really exists is in our minds. And because in Washington, D.C., it doesn't exist. They play us. They play us because they know if they keep us divided, they can conquer us. And so
keep us fighting, man. It's
all bullshit.
Yeah.
I tell people, focus on your local community, focus on the things that you can change, because to be honest, a lot of those politicians at your local level, they haven't gotten distorted or they haven't gotten touched by that, Satan in DC. They're really working. Yeah, they're really working to try to change the community. So I always tell people, if you want to make change, start at home. Yep. Start in your local community and work outwards. But yeah, it's all bullshit. Anybody that gets drug into this, I hate somebody because they like this person, or they hate. It's you're being played, and you're letting them win because they're playing you.
You're a good little soldier at that point, man. You're doing what they want you to do for sure. Well, listen,
here's the funny thing. The whole time I was in combat, I never knew what any of my guys were. I didn't know if they were Republicans. I didn't know if they Democrats. We never even talked about who the fuck we voted for. I didn't give a shit. We were like, all right, this is our plan. We're all here together. We're going to get home. Let's do it together. Let's go. Break. And that was it. So, yeah, it's just all bullshit.
You know, and on a very much smaller level, and it's, you know, I hear these guys talk about, you know, the warriors in sports and so forth. And it's like, I don't think so, boys. Athletes, I'll give you that. You're athletes.
Yeah.
But I coached for 18 years, and football was the primary sport that I coached for a lot of years, from fourth grade all the way to seniors in high school. And one of the things that they, you know, that we taught them during the team building aspect is, I don't care what goes on in the hallway from, you know, up until 2:30, 3 o'clock. When you hit this practice field, you are one freaking team, and you had better conduct yourself like it.
Right.
And if I hear of a group of you guys giving another teammate crap or not helping a teammate during the, you know, school hours, well, trust me, the least thing you're going to worry about is what the principal's going to do. I was like, wait till you get to my practice field, you know, and that was the piece. Was it doesn't matter, man, when you truly are on one team together, all that other stuff becomes such insignificant shit.
Right.
And if more people would think of things that way, I think it would clean up a lot of that stuff.
Well, and that was for me, you know, football. I played football since I was 6, all the way from junior pro up to high school. You know, went to college to play football, ended up playing lacrosse, and so football was always like, it was the baseline of what, you know, it was my father, my coaches, you know, my dad was out playing music and doing his thing. And so a lot of these football coaches that I had, from Doc to Coach Pig, these guys were the guys that raised me. Yeah. And so, and it was funny is because they knew how to get out of me what they wanted out of me, and they had to piss me off, and they knew it. It was like, we pissed him off. He's good. And so, true story, I got to Marine Corps boot camp. This is the last, we're about to graduate. And at that time, the senior drill instructor will usually bring you into his office and kind of go like, almost like an after actions, like, what did you learn in boot camp? What would you change in boot camp? You know, stuff like that. Right. And so I go into to talk with him, and I said, you know, I just, and this is the first time you're allowed to speak in first person, because I don't know if a lot of people know, in Marine Corps boot camp, you have to speak in third person. So like when you're talking to a drill instructor, you have to say like, sir, good morning, sir. This recruit requests permission to use the head. You can't say I, like you say I, like I. It's, yeah. Freaking nuts. So you can't say anything. And then you're like, and I'm like 21 at this point. Like I figured like life out. So I'm not like a kid like a lot of these guys are. So I go in and I tell my senior drill instructor, and he's like, you know, what's some things that you would change? I said, I just don't think you guys liked me very much. And he was like, what? This is boot camp. We're not supposed to like you. What are you talking about? And I said, well, you just wasn't that hard on me. And my drill instructor looks at me, he goes, did you just tell a Marine senior drill instructor at Parris Island, South Carolina, that we weren't that hard on you? And I said, well, my football coaches that I grew up with were a lot harder on me. They knew how to get out of me what they needed to get out of me. And I don't think you guys got out of me everything that you could get out of me. And he was like, who the fuck was your football coaches? Where did you grow up? Hell? Like hell? And so I always tell, every time I run into Coach Pig or Doc, I'll be like, hey man, there's senior drill instructors at Parris Island. They're like, whatever y'all are doing is torture, because we are torturing them. And it's still like, you know, I tell stories about like our football coach. He had, I'm not kidding you, he had like a box of clipboards. He would buy them by the box because he'd break them over our helmets all the time. You fucking dud and shit like that. And so like, make me roll around in sand. Woo! So yeah, football awesome. It was always the guideline, man. It kept me, it's what got me through boot camp. And I think it's kids that are playing sports, you know, especially if they don't have a father figure in the home, I think it's something that really saves a lot of lives out there, man. And so you're doing God's work by helping a lot of those kids out.
When it's done right, you know, that's the key in today's society. It's a lot harder. I will tell you, one of the reasons it helped me retire was that I was a paid coach in a school system. And that made my decision to retire from that a lot easier, because you know, when you're not able to instill fundamental I'm sorry, so and so, called his home ec teacher a really, really horrible name that you should never. And so that, yeah, for that, I'm sitting him for a half. I found
Yeah.
out about it, and he's sitting for a half. You can't do that, coach. No, you can't do that. He was at practice. He did it. I don't care. He has a disciplinary issue, and I'm the coach of this team. Am I not? Listen, we don't want this kind of, flack coming at us, da, 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 da. And it's like, okay, yeah, you guys have completely lost your ground. And it turned it so that I couldn't teach what I used football to teach, which was how to be a good human being, how to be constructive citizens in their community, and how to be good young men. For the love
Yeah.
of Pete, I have no problem doing it. I don't believe in this toxic masculinity bullshit. I don't believe in any of that. There's assholes and there's good people.
Yep.
End of discussion.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong, and these young men should not feel bad about being a young man, or being an old man, as long as they're good human beings. So, yeah, it really changes your perspective on that stuff, and that's so cool to hear you say that. Hear someone like yourself and your experiences to say that you could pull back from football. I remember every one of the athletes I coached. I remember these young men, and they hold a special place in my heart, man. All the
Gene,
years.
They're always going to remember you. I'm sitting here, 44 years old, talking about my little league football coach.
Hell yeah, man.
Doc was like my dad, and Coach Pig just continued that on after. I don't talk about my middle school coach a lot because we lost every game for 2 years straight. It's the losingest. It's the losingest program in the state of Tennessee. Go Neely's Bend Beavers. So I actually just talked to one of my buddies I played football with in high school. He's coaching a high school in Tennessee. Now he's like, hey, all the middle schools were represented last night at the city. And I was like, bet Neely's Bend wasn't. And he was like, hey, man, stop hating on your stomping grounds.
Right. Hey, man, I'll tell you, I had a winless season with a group of boys, but it was 5th grade, mind you.
Yeah.
And we, as coaches, I got us together and we decided, look, these boys, there's not a whole lot of athletes in here. Okay. We got like 2 athletes, but we got kids that want to be here. So let's focus on that and let's push that. Their little end of season, these little goofballs were signing each other's jerseys and they had a blast, dude.
Yeah, that's awesome. See, that wasn't our case. There was 10 losing seasons. Like somebody really put a curse on this fucking school. I'm talking about, listen, we had superstars come out. Like there was Jahi Henley, Justin Walker. Like these are big football players that went on to play in high school that played at Neely's Bend, never won a game. The guys, listen, almost the exact team that I played with at Neely's Bend, we left Neely's Bend and went to Hunter's Lane the next year. We got all the middle schools kind of joined up together. We get to Hunter's Lane. We won the city. We went undefeated.
Nice.
And so we have no one can explain why Neely's Bend lost for like 10 years in a row. Nobody like it's got to be a curse. They built that school on top of an Indian burial ground.
There's something. That I never used that one. Like, you know where we had to practice? That's a good one.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot more to cover here. What I'm going to do for folks watching this on the recording, we're going to go and pause here real quick to let you go ahead and take a break from this. If you want to come back and keep watching it, you don't want to miss the second half of this podcast. Dude, I can't thank you enough. Your stories. This is what I knew would happen. This is podcast gold. And people are going to absolutely love picking up on this stuff. So
I'm going to have remorse. I know as soon as we shut this off, I'll be thinking about, well, I should have told that story. Oh, I should. No, I'm
Don't
kidding.
worry. My dude, audience,
at 44,
we're not that big yet.
Dude, at 44, oh, you'd be amazed how they go find this stuff. I was talking about the mafia on a podcast a little while ago, and not excited about starting my cars every morning. Let's put it that way.
Do you remember in the old days? Maybe you won't because you're a lot younger than me now that I'm hearing this. Not that much younger,
no.
like 7 years. But you remember the old landlines where they would talk about like a keyword would trigger recordings that are happening in the basement of some place.
So
right. Who knows, man?
I'll tell you that
these phones are listening all the whole damn time.
The jobs we did in Afghanistan, that was the main job we were there to do. We weren't there to really fight. We were there to move around and make them talk. because anything that they said, we can listen to. In fact, there's programs where you can type in keywords in Pashto, Punjabi, Ari, whatever their native tongue is, and it'll pull that conversation up that they say those words in. So that shit was real. Whatever they were saying about the party lines, like that really happened. Right? I believe it now. If we were doing it in 2004 in Afghanistan, you can't imagine what we're doing now.
Exactly. So we're going to hang 1 second here. Going to do a
quick let me wait so nobody drops a JDAM missile on my house real quick.
That's right. We'll be right back, folks. All right, folks, we're back here for the second half of the podcast here. Mr. Stephen Cochran joining us. Dude, like I said, I knew this was going to be gold when we started this. What I want to focus on now, this is we've seen how, with the Stop22 Tour, folks hear it constantly coming from us here on the podcast. They see the videos of a lot of the artists we have in there. But brother, you have got a lot of stuff going on like right now. So for folks at home that don't realize, we're actually recording this 2 days before the brand new single is about to drop. By the time you folks are seeing this, which will be on the 20th of November, the new single will have already been released out there. And so it'll kind of be after the fact. But so when you hear us talking, we're talking about stuff that hasn't actually happened just yet on the recording, where we got like a week delay on our recording here. But let's talk about that. Let's start with that one there. Keep on. Hang on 1 second here. Got a little something. I'm going to change the frame up real quick. Ew, get off of there. Where's the thingy? Hang on. Boy, I'm brand new at this.
That's a pretty guitar.
Isn't it, though? There we go. New single about to drop. Keep on 11/11. And now that this will be airing after the fact, you got a cool, like a little behind the scenes thing.
Yeah. So it says 11/11/23, but what people don't know is on November 10th, which is actually the Marine Corps birthday, we're going to do a surprise release it early. We got a video that we're about to shoot right after I get off here with you to kind of just tease it and let them know that it's out there on all the places to be downloaded. So if you're listening to this now, happy belated birthday, Marines. I hope this found you guys and it hit you where you needed it. And also, get out there and download it now. So it's still out for download. It's the 20th. It's on Amazon and all the places where you can stream. So call your local radio station and go download it for me.
That's awesome stuff. And speaking of, we got radio stations that are picking it up, man. I mean, this is no stranger, though. This is the part that I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I had no idea this. Dude, you're kind of a big fucking deal. I mean, you've been down this path. You were in the mainstream of country music for quite a while.
Yeah.
And that blonde hair, bro. That hairdo.
It's a little shorter now. It's a little shorter now these days. It don't. If you see my son, you'll see where the blonde hair went. Hey, Aaron, come here. So you'll see. I just took the wig off, and then he put it on his head afterwards. So it's man. Music has been country music, especially, is like a family business. My dad's a songwriter. Like, come here, son. Let me show him real quick before we move on.
Yeah. See,
I took all the blonde hair off, and then I just squat down. There it is. Yeah, He-Man's here.
Nice. He's got it all.
He does. It's coming off, though. Only one of us can have beautiful blonde hair in this family, and it's not him. No, sorry, that was my oldest son, Aaron. He's 14 now, and
that's awesome.
Man, he's 14 going on 27. I feel like it was just yesterday. He was just a little guy, and we were out. I was his basketball coach, and I coached, helped him in baseball and stuff like that. And man, time is a thief. Anyway,
now he's in the corner with the goggles doing all
like facing a wall. That's the weirdest shit. You come in and just like, what, Dad?
Yep.
Fighting zombies.
All right.
Like, dude, take off the goggles. There's fucking zombies in the real world. You can probably go fight right now.
Right.
At least he's getting his training in, I guess.
So talk to us about Keep On, man. That's a heavy hitting song. You haven't released a single in quite some time, so this one's extra special to you.
Yeah, touring and stuff is really hard when you have small kids, and we have 5 kids. We have 3 COVID babies, so we have a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 3-year-old. My poor wife was pregnant for 3 years solid, and I I told her that I would not go out and tour and I would not start releasing new music until we had them all potty trained.
Right.
That's this year. So we've had these, we signed a deal with Hallmark, the Hallmark movie channel. They bought the rights to my life story, and they're going to be releasing a movie. Tentatively, I think right now they're saying it's summer 2024.
Okay.
And so Michael Hamilton, who I talked about earlier, he and I grew up together. We played high school football together. He's my producer and partner in Label 22, which is our non-for-profit veteran-owned record label. And we've had this music ready for a while now, just for the soundtrack for the movie and stuff like that, whatever they needed, from me. But seeing what's going on in the world, man, and seeing how much people, I think, really need some motivation this time of year, we just thought that we had to release this song and let it go do what it's done for a lot of people that just hear me play it acoustic. Like I said earlier, we're not special. I don't have any special gift other than being able to take what's in here and put it down in song form. And Keep On's a song that Michael and I wrote together. Like I said, he's a combat veteran from Iraq. I'm an Afghanistan combat veteran. And we just kind of tapped into the things that we go through daily.
Yeah.
And how that, you said earlier, I think you were talking about you're not who you were, and you're never going to be that again. And that's what one of the lines in the song says is, it sits there and talks about how I'm not who I was supposed to be. This is who I am. This is me, and I can't stop lying to myself.
Right.
Because every day you wake up, you're lying like, I'm going to get better today. I'm going to be the old Steve today, and you're not.
Right.
So it's like you just continue to lie to yourself to just get through the day. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you got to do to get through the day, do it. Like there's so many people every year that come out with this new, we've cured PTSD, we've cured post-traumatic, which I hate the word PTSD or the acronym PTSD. And I've had so many arguments with clinicians and doctors and stuff like that about, oh, that's the clinical term, post-traumatic stress disorder. And, my whole thing is that's neat that you guys got terms that you got to go by.
Sure.
But the problem that they don't understand is that names mean a lot to veterans. We put a lot of weight on names and nomenclatures and acronyms. Every branch has acronyms. The Marine Corps is full of them. JJ did tie buckle and, all these different acronyms we use. When you tell a veteran, a combat veteran, that they have a disorder,
that's a problem.
And that other veterans with this disorder have murdered their families and they've drowned their dogs in bathtubs. All these things that we find out later on had nothing to do with post-traumatic stress. But once it's out there in the world, that's what they remember.
Yep.
Oh, remember that soldier had PTSD that killed his family? Well, no, he actually didn't have PTSD. He was, he had something else that he was dealing with. Or he was actually not supposed to be in the Army. And they don't hear that part. They just hear that PTSD soldier killed his family.
Yeah.
And so a lot of our veterans hear that, man. And I'll tell you one thing. If it came down, if I thought there was a chance that I would hurt my family, that's an easy decision. I can fix that right now. I can click off this and I can make sure that never happens.
Yep.
And that's what happens to a lot of our guys, man. A lot of our guys and girls are just like, oh, wait a second. I've got this disease and I might hurt my family. Well, guess what? Not going to happen on my watch.
Right.
Not going to happen. I'll take myself out of the equation. They'll never be hurt. And so I always say it's post-traumatic stress. It's not a disorder. You're supposed to have it. Because like I said earlier, if you can go and do all this shit and come home and be like, hey, man, I'm good with it. Well, that's good for you.
Something's wrong.
I don't think it's true. Nope. I've never met a guy that's like, yeah, man, I'm good with everything we've done and I'll do it again. And then they go home and beat their wife or cry or do something like that. Like, I'm not saying they're beating their wives, but I'm saying
right.
It's going to come out some way that's not going to be beneficial to you or your family.
Exactly.
You might as well get it out verbally, write it down on a piece of paper, get it out of your soul, get it out of your body. Like it's got to come out one way or the other. And so find a productive way to get it out is what I'm asking people to do. And hopefully this song will just show them that, I have to use tools still to this day. And I've been out of the Marine Corps longer than I was ever in the Marine Corps, but I still have to use tools to get me through the day. And it's okay if you do.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Mike Foss, U.S. Army, is the president of the Warrior Bonfire Program, the very first nonprofit that I ever worked with before I ever had my nonprofit, and before I ever met Brian. They were the first ones to talk to me, and Mike flat out said, we want from here on out, anything we put on social media, anytime you're talking, we're taking the D out of this. We want it's post-traumatic stress, and that's it. And he was the first one to bring that to my attention. And I sat there and I wondered for a while, I'm like, I wonder, what's the lineage of that? And then I had a chance to speak with several combat veterans. And Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army, Justin Patterson, who I now consider a very good friend of mine. I love this guy to death. He is he is a bear of a human being. What a dude is. He's just a monster, and he is just one of the kindest human beings. To know what he had to go through, he suffered a severe brain injury, had to learn how to walk and talk again. Now has a stutter, that's in between it. But I'll tell you what, his stories that he tells are like they're like yours. You are just on the edge of your seat when Justin is telling stories, man, just like you. But he explained what you were just saying to me in terms that even I could understand. He says, I want you to think about this. When we're over boots on the ground, when we're overseas, if there's a problem, we remove it. If there's an issue, we deal with it and we go on with our day. Then you bring me home and I got to get on I-25 here, driving north and south in Colorado. And within the first 10 minutes, 6 a-holes cut me off and about forced me off the road. And I'm not allowed to do anything. He says, do you understand? In my world, that guy cuts me off. I get rid of him because he's a problem. He's a danger to everybody on the road. We remove that danger and we go on with our life. He says, so us trying to come back now and being forced into civilian world where I'm not allowed to even flip him off because then I'm inciting rage. And it's
half of us aren't allowed to own weapons anymore.
Right.
Like, what the fuck is that? You think about this shit. It's like, you trusted me in a foreign country, with as many rounds as I wanted, automatic weapons all the way up to rockets, and now I come home and I'm the problem,
right? What the hell?
There's no method to this madness other than they need to take the weapons out of people that are capable's hands.
It's to make themselves feel safe, the folks that don't understand or don't have a decent side to it, and so man, the keep on single, this is a big deal. And I can't wait for this thing to unload and go full bore. By the time we're airing this, I'll have already downloaded it and picked it up. You say it's going to be on Amazon, all the other
Amazon,
areas?
Apple, all those. And the thing is, man, this is, as we say in the Marine Corps or in the military, this is just the tip of the spear. We have so much coming. Like, we spontaneously wanted to release Keep On. There was no plan. We have our label team jump in at the last minute and start calling radio stations. It was, like you said, crazy. I did never expect radio to support me like they have. Radio is a big business. There's a lot of big industries that own, Cumulus, Clear Channel, CBS. They own large amounts of these radio stations. Yeah. And so unless you're on their formulary or you're signed to a major label, they usually don't play you. And we're not a major label. We're probably one of the smallest independents there is in this game right now, but we're not looking to be someone's landing zone. We want to be their launching pad. I know what I can do for young artists, and what I would love to do is to help them navigate this field, not make some of the mistakes I made, but then get them to the point to where they can negotiate themselves and they have something to negotiate, that they're not just being screwed over by these major labels. A lot of people have seen the Jelly Roll, Joe Rogan podcast, where Jelly Roll had talked about there's artists that you listen to on the radio. Everybody watched the CMA Awards last night. You saw a lot of those artists get up and accept awards that have shit record deals.
Right.
I'm talking 90-10, and they're not getting 90. They're getting the 10. 360 agreements. 360 agreements is like whoever. 360 means I own you 360 degrees. If I go and give a speaking engagement, you own a piece of it. If I write a book, you own a piece of it. It has nothing to do with music. You're a recording label. Why do you own my book?
Right.
So we're just trying to help You know, there's 1,000 people that get off a bus every day in Nashville, Tennessee to go live their dreams. Anytime creative people and business people get in bed together or go into business together, the creatives are always going to lose because they're paying with stuff that they believe in, their love, their selves. These songs that we write are stories that we've lived. I have never written a song that I've never lived. Everything you ever hear me sing, no, that came from a time in my life that I was at shit or that I was succeeding. I write about everything I live because, again, I'm not special. If I'm going through it, somebody else out there is going through it. And God gave me the ability to help that person.
Right.
With words.
Well, in this, what we're talking about here is Label 22, right? That's the platform we're talking about.
Label 22.
I wanted to bring that up real quick here. Oh, get that thing off of there. Label 22 Recording and Management. You can catch it out at Facebook out there. Is it at Label 22? Is that the whole piece on that? Yep.
At Label 22. That's again, another Brian Romans and my venture. Michael Hamilton, my wife Megan Cochran. She owns Cochran Admin Services. She's running all the day-to-day management. It's just all came together so well. Brian has been killing it on radio. Like I said, he just calls them and they accept it. We've got lots of people, lots of DJs that are coming on board to do voiceovers for us. And so it's been a big blessing, man. I'm just glad to be back releasing music again.
Dude, you're a pillar of the foundation. You're a core member of the foundation when there's conversations, that go on, what you've done and the healing you've helped to bring to so many people. You impacted my wife and I on such a level when we had the blessing to be in the space with you, Tyler, and Sal, bro. That time you guys come out here, and then having a chance to bring my son up here. He's on crutches at the time. I get his butt all the way up here because I wanted him to come meet you guys and have a chance to, hang out in the tour bus there, and just kind of sit in the coach and hear the songs that you guys.
And those guys are special, man. I mean, like, who am I? I get to hang out with freaking warriors every day who have given, like Sal gave his leg for this country and he lost his leg in Iraq. And, Tyler has written the EAS song, which, has definitely made a lot of Marines get kicked out and probably get. So the story behind the EAS song, I'll tell real quick, is pretty funny. Tyler sang it in Iraq and they videotaped it and put it on YouTube. And it kind of got back to his battalion commander. Hey, there's this kid in our battalion that wrote this song and it's getting millions of views. The battalion commander's like, we should give him a NAM for that. And then the XO listened to the song, was like, sir, I think you need to listen to the song before you. And I'm pretty sure he got like page 11 or something after that. So he went from getting an award to not getting an award. So the Marines kind of screwed him. So it's like a deal. If you don't get out as an NCO, then they owe you so much money. And they promoted him the day before he got out. I think I'm almost positive that's the real story. But yeah, man, these guys they're just some of the best guys to tour with. And I've been blessed to be a part of Stop22 with them. And they've also got projects coming. Tyler's coming off of thyroid cancer, which you can't even tell, man. He's singing and sounding better than he ever has.
I've not heard him since the rehab, man. So I can't wait.
Better than ever. And then Sal lost a whole human. And then
what? And I want to know, please tell me that's not like the Devil's Lettuce and Jim Beam, but no, whatever he's
the Devil's
doing.
Lettuce is the reason he was 300 pounds, I think.
Okay,
I'm not
okay, gotcha. But yeah, he looks
cocaine.
He looks phenomenal, man. If that's
I've known Sal 20 years now, I think. And the way he and I got to know each other is a crazy story. I was on the radio doing an interview for my first song, Friday Night Fireside. And they're doing a whole disc, breakdown of my album. And this lady comes in at the break. She goes, hey, man, you got some crazy fans. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, some guy keeps calling and screaming something about spirit of the core. And if you don't help him be a songwriter, you're a piece of shit and all this other stuff. And I was like, what? And I was like, oh, he's talking about esprit de corps. And in the Marine Corps, we have something called esprit de corps. It means like if I'm succeeding at something and you have the ambition to be that, I have to help you or I'm a piece of shit Marine.
Right.
And so I said, hey, get his number if he calls back and I'm going to try to help him out. And so he called back. She got his number. Me and Sal have been friends ever since. I've never helped him do anything. The dude is talented. He does it on his own. We write a bunch of great songs together. And I'm just super, super blessed to have these guys in my life, man. It's Just awesome.
What is it that you mentioned this earlier, where the three of you kind of get up there and you tell stories about the songs? What's that called again?
It's called In the Round.
In the Round.
You guys
did that when you were out here, and Sal's storytelling, your storytelling, Tyler up there. It's like, I felt like, and I mean this in the highest compliment way, you guys took me back to my childhood when my mother would make me watch the Grand Ole Opry in black and white, Ernest Tubbs. And then as time went on, when color came about, I would see what you guys reminded me of was the Outlaws, man. There was Merle, there's Waylon, there's Willie and Johnny.
That's what we've been going for the whole time. That's our end all goal. Yeah. Me and Tyler and Sal always wanted, if you've ever watched The Highwaymen.
The Highwaymen, that's what I meant. Yeah.
If you've ever watched The Highwaymen, and where they had a backing band, and that's where we want to get to. And that's really, it's funny is that if your listeners will be able to tell, I like to talk. I talk a lot. And so you get me on stage, and sometimes I'll get into talking and forget this isn't a TED Talk. I'm in the middle of playing a show. And you'll watch some videos, and you'll see like Tyler will have his hat on, and underneath the head he's going, play a fucking song. Sing. Say something. Take some music. So for everybody out there, I have signed with a PR agency. I am going to be on the speaking circuit as a motivational speaker, so they can stop telling me to stop fucking speaking.
I can't wait, dude. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. You're going to be doing public speaking. Got the label 22. You touched on it briefly. Hallmark, brother, you have got a movie going on Hallmark. Now, keep in mind, most Hallmark movies that I've found, it's like, some gal moved into town and she's got a bakery and there's going to be a murder somewhere that she's got to unravel. Well, but this is a different one that Hallmark's doing, man. This is one I'm interested in watching.
Maybe. What I've learned through this process, Gary Jean, is that when they say based on a true story, it means about this much of a true story.
Loosely based.
I can tell you that I don't know how much I can tell you about what I know about the movie. I know that they made my wife my physical therapist. All right.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. My wife was 13 when I was injured in combat. And I was like, yo, the writer was like, we'll let the audience do the math. I'm like, I hope they don't fucking do the math, because I turned into Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis real quick. Just like plus that makes her Doogie Howser. Like, she comes out of this movie like you're a 13-year-old physical therapist at the VA. You find this poor old beat up veteran. Y'all listen to Aaron Tippin together. Aaron Tippin buys an airplane from your grandfather, which crazy. That's the craziest story of the movie, and that shit's true. Aaron Tippin really did buy an airplane from my wife's grandfather. He died, and he had left his airplane, and her grandmother said, Pa Roy just always wanted to sell this to Aaron Tippin. And I'm sitting at the table, and I was like, I know Aaron Tippin. And they look at me like, okay, you know Aaron Tippin. And I'm like, he's one of my best friends. And they're like, okay, everybody's best friends with Aaron Tippin. I bet you want to kiss this too, don't you? So I just picked up my phone and called him and like, hey man, I got an airplane my wife's grandmother wants you to buy. So he goes over to look at the plane. He calls me back. He goes, hey man, he goes, I really want to buy this plane, but somebody has convinced Nanny Cat that it's worth about $1 million.
Oh my God.
And I just look over at my wife and I went, yeah, I think I'm looking at her right now. So my wife's like, Nanny, Aaron Tippin, never know what he's going to pay you for that plane. And Aaron's like, bro, I'm going to have to put, a lot of money into it to get it ready to be able to fly. And he's like, I really want to buy this, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm scared of Nanny Cat a little bit. First thing she did was take me out back and show me her revolver and how good she hits cans.
Dude, this is the movie. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I tell my wife, I was like, hey, you got to tell Nanny Cat that Aaron Tippin's not trying to screw her over. He's going to give her the right price for her plane. And so he bought the plane from Nanny Cat, and he promised her that when he got it ready, that she'd be the first one to take a flight in it. Now, the craziest part about that is that Nanny Cat reminds him of his grandmother that he lost several years ago. So now Aaron just goes to Nanny Cat's house when he gets off the road, has breakfast with her, sits there and just has coffee and hangs out with Nanny Cat. And then as soon as he leaves, she sends me a text message, because Nanny knows how to text now. Hey, Stephen, I think I'm still in your best friend. Pictures of her and Aaron. And And so I told that story to the writer of the Hallmark movie, and she goes, "Oh, I love that. That's going in the movie." So now Aaron Tippin buys an airplane from my wife's grandmother and then flies us to a concert, a Christmas concert or whatever the hell it is, in this airplane. Now that shit happened. But the airplane he really does own an airplane that he bought from my wife's grandmother. So just know that when you watch the movie, that's probably the only true part of it.
So I don't know what you had to sign before or after, but I'm seeing a book that is real versus movie by Stephen Cochran.
Exactly.
And you follow up authoring that piece there. I mean, the movie is successful. If they do their job right, they get it out there, everything's, goes good, then yeah, that book should follow up. And hell yeah, this is it. You can
hopefully, well, exactly. You know what they always say? So you get married on Hallmark and then you kill her on the Lifetime network. So
Lifetime, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Lifetime's
where the murder mystery is always
mystery. So you get married on Hallmark, and then you murder them on the Lifetime channel. So we're hoping that we just stay on Hallmark, and again, you're right. We want to have something that comes out and just what Hallmark got wrong or something like that. But dude, they've been great to work with. The producers and directors over there. Our writer Julie Wolfe has written like 20 movies for Hallmark. She's a great writer, and of course they're making a movie. This is not a life story. It is a life story. It's not a documentary. And so they're making a movie for entertainment. And like our writer said, she's like, "Stephen, you've lived so much in like 40 years. How do we condense that down to an hour?"
Right.
And right. So there's stuff in there that, they had to put in there to make it a movie that you could watch from start to finish. And it's just not a documentary, but hopefully we do get to that documentary style series soon.
Yeah. That's good. So, I mean, I know that the writer's strike just got done, but do we know, is it Matthew McConaughey? Who are they going to get to play it? This is not easy.
So, we were pushing around some names.
MC?
Pushing around some names. I think right now we're going to go with Fabio.
Is he still around?
Just for the hair thing. No, they have their own actors at Hallmark,
okay.
And we still do have an actor strike that we're waiting on. So, like the directors told us, is that they can't shoot a movie based around an American veteran with Canadian actors.
Right.
Plus, SAG would probably boycott it, and it couldn't be played in America, and that kind of defeats the purpose of having a movie. So we're just praying that we're first in line for production. So the producers just told me a few days ago that if it wasn't for the strike, the movie would already be done.
Wow.
So we're holding our breath and waiting for the actors to get what they need and deserve, and then we will move forward with Aaron Tippin flying me to concerts and planes he bought from other people.
I can't wait. Yeah, this is going to be good because we'll watch it. I think we need to do like a Murfreesboro viewing or something. You know what I mean? Where we view it and you can hit pause going, "That's bullshit right there."
Yeah. But then we would just stay on pause. I'd probably just be like, "This whole thing's bullshit."
No, man, that's exciting stuff. You're like the only guy I personally know that's ever had that, that piece with this. So you have got, as usual, man, a ton of stuff going. I can't thank you enough. I know you've got some stuff you got to get handled and taken care of here. Folks, Stop22 Tour. You hear us talk about it. This is the man himself, one of the co-founding members. That you'll have an opportunity to, providing if you see the Stop22 out there, you never know. You might get, it might be Steven showing up there to put the show on.
It might be, but even if I'm not with the Stop22 on that part of the tour, I can promise from Doc, Jonathan Wells, Chris Turner, Tyler, we've talked about all these guys, Scotty Hastings, just all these guys are great veteran performers, singer-songwriters. Craig Morgan's going to start helping us out with some Stop22 stuff. I saw him at the DAV Grand Ole Opry event. And then
Craig is going to help us?
Yeah, and then another big group that a lot of people are hearing about is called War and Treaty. They played at the Grand Ole Opry. They were actually on the CMA Awards and they're from here in Michigan where I'm at right now. So definitely reach out to them at the Grand Ole Opry and want to try to pull them a little bit more as well with Craig. And so just onward and upward, tip of the spear type stuff right now, man.
That's exciting. We've got, so with the All-American Kayak Series, we're going to Kentucky Lake. We've got Moore's Resort.
Hold up. You're going where?
Kentucky Lake. That's right.
Okay. Do you know that my dad is a pro bass fisherman?
He is.
Yeah. He's actually a regional director over the ABA, the America Bass Anglers.
I know exactly. I used to fish ABA.
And guess what lake he's on?
Kentucky Barkley.
Lake Barkley and Kentucky Lake. He lives right in Paris Landing.
That's awesome
When
news.
you go up there, you got to hook up with my dad. He'll show you all the spots.
So we're bringing the All American Kayak Series, which is our national trail, who's locked shields with Roman's Warrior Foundation for this next season. We're coming to Kentucky Lake there, and Moore's Resort is going to be our host. Well, she's got I talked to the owner. She's got a little stage there, very set up perfectly for a good acoustic, intimate setting. She knows for a fact this restaurant during that time of the year is going to be absolutely jam-packed with traffic. And so we were looking at which one of our services do we want to bring here. Dawned on perfect. And I just talked to Brian today. I want to bring one Stop22 artist in. Mm-hmm. Let's drop them on stage for one night because it's a one-night show for us. It'll be that Saturday night. And, so right now they're starting to work on getting some support behind raise funds for the Stop22 tour here, so we can get an artist in there. So pretty excited.
And let me know, man. We'll pull my dad in too, so he can help you with all the resources there. And he's a great singer-songwriter himself, and he's an Army veteran, so he might have to be the one emceeing for you while you're there.
Bring him. Hell yeah, we would absolutely love to have him show up on stage there as well, man. That would be phenomenal. So Benton is the hometown where we're at, but we're actually Moore's is over on the lake itself. So Moore's Resort. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, my dad lives there's another place there called Breakers, and he lives right above Breakers. Like that's he literally his house looks out over Kentucky Lake.
Well, I was excited when we put it on our schedule that we were going to be in that neck of the woods, because like I told Brian, dude, we're 3-4 hours up the road from home base, man.
2 hours from me, man. I'll be there, whether I'm singing or not. I'll be there. Let me know.
Yeah, it's like this is going to be an awesome opportunity. I'm hoping in the following years we can keep Kentucky and maybe even Pickwick on our list of, because we try as a series, we try not to go east of the Mississippi, just because we understand that's another national series is kind of out there, but nobody's really going to these two lakes that often. Yeah. And we're a Midwestern flyover state series, man. And that's right on the eastern edge of where we'd like to go. So we think, you know what, if we're not conflicting with anybody, guys want to fish, guys and gals want to get out in the kayak and fish, man. So let's get in there, especially if we can bring a show to the area. So
yeah. Hey, well, we're in, buddy, and thank you so much, Gary Jean. I appreciate everything. Getting me on here today.
I need a hat that says Gary Jean or a name tag or something.
No, you just need a hat that says Gary and a shirt that says Jean.
That's right.
Just confuse everybody.
Pick one.
So what is it, man? Gary Jean. I don't care. I'm Garrett today. I'm gonna go with the other G.
I'll answer to anything. Listen, brother, thank you so much. Send all of our love to the beautiful wife and beautiful family out there. Best of luck in everything that you're doing, man. I can't wait for tomorrow. Technically tomorrow, the song is going to drop there. Happy early Marine Corps birthday here on the 9th. Yeah, man, we'll folks go check out Stop22 Stephen Cochran music. We'll make sure in the description here we'll have all your socials listed up in there. And yeah, I think that's it. You Thanks, take care, man.
Thanks, Gene, buddy. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right, brother. Take care. All right, folks. Oop, hang on a sec. Amateur hour here again. I need faster buttons here. As usual, folks, thank you so much for all the likes, the supports, the subscribes on YouTube are the biggest one, man. We can use that help there in a major, major way. It's the best way you can support this piece out here for us is hooking up some of those, the likes, the follows, and of course, like I said, the subscribes on YouTube. We appreciate all that you're doing, and thank you for tuning in and watching this thing. Tie lines, y'all. Be safe.
1, 2, 3, 4.